And if not, this part will really be exciting, because now you get to be thrown into a workshop where you get to actually work in RHODS. Now, with this workshop, this is going to allow you to actually become more familiar with RHODS, and in particular, the Jupyter Hub managed service. So if you haven't used Jupyter Notebooks before or used Jupyter Hub, now's your opportunity. So before I go any further, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda. What we're planning on doing is seeing how RHODS makes it easy for us to get started and get going. So it's going to support your data science work teams. But before I get into that, let's do some instructor introductions. So I'll go first, and then we'll let Sophie go afterwards. So my name is Audrey Reznik. I'm a data scientist in the AI COE, and I work specifically with RHODS, enabling customers to manage and deploy their AI ML workflows and projects. I've been with Red Hat since November of last year, and before that, I was in the oil industry for 13 years, and before that in the .com industry for about 10 to 11 years. So I'm going to hand it over to Sophie.
Hey team, I'm Sophie. I am a data scientist here at Red Hat, and I started at Red Hat in 2012 as an intern. And I liked it so much I came back after grad school and joined full-time in 2017. Excited to meet you all and work with you all today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sophie. So as I was mentioning, what we want you to see today is really how RHODS makes it easy to get started in working with an AI ML problem, and to really get going so that you can develop your AI ML model and eventually deploy it. And specifically, you're going to be using the Red Hat OpenShift data science platform, which we call RHODS, to recognize license plates in car pictures. And then what we're going to do is extract the license plate number from an identified license plate that the AI ML program is going to identify. Now, through the workshop, we're going to be here to help you out, and we'll be able to answer questions. I would ask that put questions in the chat so that we can track the questions down, and we'll answer them as we're able to. Now, with this workshop, you're going to be using a number of tools to help you. One of them is going to be an HTML doc, which is going to actually go ahead and, let's see if I can get it here, step you through the workshop. We're going to put a link to that right away into the chat. And the other thing that you're going to actually have is some usernames and passwords to get into the actual OpenShift dedicated platform. And we have those for you. Before we do that, let me just go on to the next thing. Already go ahead and introduce our instructors. So let me actually talk a little bit more about this workshop, because it isn't just something that we threw together for our customers or even for you, the interns, though we do love you so much. I mean, we really want to make this special for you. But this workshop actually comes from the work that one of our data scientists actually is working on right now, which is to provide London Metro with the ability to track vehicles in the metro area. And what they wanted to do is within that area, they wanted any vehicles that came in to be recognized so that they could actually take the license plate numbers and be able to track those license plate numbers. So we're using Kafka to actually go ahead and pull in a lot of that license plate information. And in the end, or not in the end, during part of it, we want to flag any cars that may be part of an Amber Alert. But really what we want to do at the end of the day is be able to track those vehicles and say, do they have the necessary registrations to park in the area? Are they actually registered properly within their Department of Motor Vehicles? Are there any outstanding warrants on some of the license plates? All this information is gleaned from the model that's running and then is stored so that our customers can actually go and analyze the data and pull more data from the actual cars that are traveling within that area. So again, the material that you're looking at isn't just kind of made up or make believe. It is actual material or an AI ML model that is being proposed to work in a field with real customers. Now we'll get to the workshop materials. Again, I mentioned that you have 2 sources that you'll be working for this workshop. One of them is the follow along tutorial. So I'm going to grab that and place that in the chat for you for the link. And the other one is going to be to the GitHub repo, but you're going to be cloning that. So we're going to leave that right now because that's going to actually show up in that HTML workshop outline. Let me go ahead and get you a link to the OSD. So it's the OpenShift dedicated, where we're going to actually go ahead and go into the actual platform itself. Now, before we go ahead and start clicking away on everything, Sophie's going to come on and tell you about the spreadsheet that we want you to look at. So we want you to go to bit.ly ODS signup. And let me get that actually in my window so I can show you what you're looking at. Let me know if you can see my screen or not with the spreadsheet. Because what we want you to do is to pick a username and put your actual initials, there you go, to the user that you're going to be choosing. And I would ask that you could choose any user that is not being used. So don't erase somebody's initials, that's just rude. And what I ask you to do is not to use user 50 because that's the one that Sophie and I are using to demonstrate items within the workshop. I'm just going to see if there are any questions so far. Okay, we're going to give everybody maybe another 2 minutes to finish signing up. And if you have any questions at this point, please ask us.
Hey Dominic, so the sheet stock is that bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly/ODS-signup. From there, you'll get to the spreadsheet where you can go and get a username and all of the links that you'll need today.
With that, while we're waiting for Dominic to go ahead and get a username and password, sign up for that, I am just going to log into the first screen that you're going to see. And then I would also suggest that you probably have the HTML on another screen so that you can see what's going on.
So to get started, you'll want to open the link for the workshop instructions, which is next to your name. This is the same for everybody, so don't worry if you click on somebody else's. And then you're going to also want to click on the link for OpenShift Data Science URL. And I think, Audrey, do you want to step through logging in?
Yeah, I'll do that. Sophie, are you able to see two screens right now, or are you still seeing the presentation?
I can see half of the
Okay, good.
instructions and
Okay.
half of the...
And now you should be able to see the screen. Okay, great. All right, everybody. So what you should see when you go ahead and you open your link is just a Red Hat OpenShift login screen. You're going to log in. And what you're going to do is choose the workshop button at the very bottom. In this case, I've already put in my username and my password. So you're going to type in the username that's in the spreadsheet and password. And then you're just going to go ahead and log in. What this is going to do is bring you to the RHODS platform. And today the managed service that we're going to have you working with is Jupyter Hub. Has everybody got to this point? Has anybody not got to this point so far? I'm gonna wait for everybody. Give everybody another minute. Okay, these instructions are going to be in your HTML file that you opened up. Maybe not is not a great detail, but they'll still get you to this point. Then at this point, when you're at Jupyter Hub, we're going to actually launch this service. It's going to have you log in one more time. So we're going to log into the workshop. Again, the username and password. Now, for me, it actually logs me into the Jupyter Lab. You're not actually going to see this, so let me, oops. Let me actually go ahead and go to the Hub Control Panel. Don't mind this here. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you get to the page where you're going to set up everything for your Jupyter Notebook. This is the site that Landon had talked about, where you can actually, as a user, you'll have a number of options to choose from in terms of the type of notebook that you want to create, which is going to be based on an image. We're going to be working with a TensorFlow image, so we're going to choose the TensorFlow. The deployment size, we say to use the default for this workshop. We have environment variables that you could add, but for this workshop, we won't be using any environment variables. So at this point in time, you then would start the server, and that would bring you into Jupyter Lab as soon as the image finishes spinning up and launching. Okay. So what we would like you to do is just go ahead and see if I can find this here. Too many windows open for me today. Let's hold on. I guess I'll cheat and do it this way. What we'd like you to do is just to go ahead and follow along at your own pace. Go ahead and read through the instructions. You're going to start on the first page that we talked about. And there'll be a link that you will go ahead and use as you're working your way through the workshop. So why don't we get you all started reading through the material and working along independently. And maybe we'll check back with everybody in, say, like 10 minutes or so to see how folks are doing. Hema, remind me again, do we have the top of the hour for this workshop?
Yes, that's correct, Audrey. I think we're scheduled till 12:15, in fact.
Okay, fantastic. So why don't we give everybody 15 minutes, then we'll check in with you. Again, if you have any questions, just ping us on the chat. Sophie and I will be monitoring that. But everybody just go ahead and start working through the workshop. It's very detailed and you'll learn a lot, and then we'll also review some of the stuff that you've learned all together. Okay.
I noticed we've got a few people still joining. If you've just joined and you want to get going in the workshop, but you missed the start, please just shout and we can get you set up. I think there's also enough room on this cluster for full-time Red Hatters to get involved as well. So feel free to have a go if you want one.
So I've just put a link in for those who have just probably joined the call. If you would like to participate in the workshop, please sign up for a username password in the bit.ly ODES sign up. And I'll just bring that up again in my window and share that, what that will look like. And if you've just, again, joined in, if you go to that URL that I just posted, you will see a number of usernames and passwords. So, and you'll see that there are initials in the far left-hand corner. That means that those usernames and passwords have already been taken. So feel free to put your initials into any of the rows that haven't been taken. And once you've done that, you can get started by clicking on the workshop instructions. And you will need the OpenShift Data Science URL to log into the RHODS platform. But feel free to just ping us in the chat and say that I'm new, I need help. Please help me get started. We can also get you started that way. Okay, everybody, I just wanted to check how everyone is doing. Are there any questions or concerns? Anybody having issues right now? Okay, I'll have you guys keep on working. What Sophie and I are going to do at the top of the hour is to kind of do the last part of the workshop where we're actually going to be going ahead and deploying the app via the OpenShift dedicated console. And if you don't get to that portion, don't worry about it because we're going to be demoing it. And you will have the remainder of this week to have access to the materials. I'd also like to point you to our pilot platform for RHODS where we do pilot testing. You can have access to that as well. We'll give you the same materials and actually even some updated managed services such as Salton and Grafana that we're adding to the platform. But anyways, we'll give you a couple more minutes, well, actually close to 15 minutes to work as far as you can, and then we'll all get together at the top of the hour to go ahead and check out how we can deploy something through OSD, OpenShift Dedicated. Okay, everybody. I hope that you've been able to work your way through the majority of the workshop. At this point, Sophie and I would like to step in and actually go through kind of what you've done and put everything into context, kind of into the bigger picture. Go ahead and present a screen here so that I have something that we can talk to. Sophie, would you like me to go ahead and talk about packaging up the model and such?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, great. All right, so when you guys were taking a look at the model that was being built, you noticed that it was able to hopefully successfully pull out the letters, the characters from the license plate. Then we kind of jumped into packaging up the model. So we learned basically in that previous part how to kind of create the code that's going to, as I mentioned, extract the number from the given license plate. But you can't really use a notebook in a production environment. Now I say that because I've known people who have tried. Don't do it. So what we're going to do is go ahead and look at the packaging the code as an API, so you can directly go ahead and query that from other applications. So the code that you looked at has been repackaged in a single Python file. It was called prediction.py, and that's just all the code that was in the cells that you were going through in the notebook. Of course, all those are now within one file. So to use that code as a function, you could just add a function called predict that takes with it the name of the picture, it does the recognition and sends back the results. And you could have seen that when you went ahead into the LPR test application portion. Now, when you've gone ahead and do this, the other part that you want to look at is how do we actually go and package up everything? Now that we know that that code is working, we want to package it up in a container image and have it run directly on OpenShift as a service so that we can call it from any application. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just that. We're going to go ahead and package this up from OpenShift dedicated as a service, and then we'll try calling it from our Jupyter notebook to basically kind of mimic calling it from any other application. So I'm just going to ask Sophie, can you see the main Red Hat OpenShift dedicated screen? Just want to make sure that I have this.
Yep.
Okay, great. So we're just going to go ahead and log in one more time. And at this point, we're going to go ahead into the, I should say that you have two modes here. We're just going to stay in the developer mode. And we want to make sure that we have the project that we're supposed to be in. So in mine, it's going to be user 50. You would have to make sure that you're in your correct project. And what we're going to do is from Get, we're going to go ahead and import the code from the Get repository that we want to build. And let me see if I can grab that here. I'm going to kind of mimic what we're doing. We're going to paste it in. And what's really nice is this is going to validate whether or not this is an actual repository. So yay, it found it. So we're legit. So we have builder images that have been detected. And there is a step in here that you don't want to miss, and that was to show advanced get options, which I've already done. And what we'll be doing is using the builder image version. It's 3.8 UBI 7 for Python. And the application name, we want to leave it as license plate workshop get.app. And for the resources, we're actually going to go ahead and do a deployment. And we want to create a route to the application. This is very important because the route is what we're going to be using to communicate with it. And we want to make sure that we include all of these options, the routing, the health checks, the build configuration, the deployment, the scaling, the resource limits, and the labels. Sometimes that can be a bit tricky to go ahead and do that. Now, if I go and try to create this build right now, it's going to go ahead and fail because I've already created it, but I'll just go ahead and let it go on. And really the automated build process, it takes a couple minutes. You could have some alerts if OpenShift tries to deploy while the build is still running, that's fine. OpenShift will go ahead and deploy the application rollout. And when you go into the topology view, you should be able to actually see the actual topology going ahead and being created. So we'll go ahead and wait for it to go ahead. And we have the actual topology in here where we have the get repo and the license plate workshop. So what we want to do is to go ahead and then take a look at some of the options that we have here. We definitely want to see, okay, yes, this license plate workshop pod is running, which is really good. But what we're most interested in is the route. And if we go down to the very bottom here, you'll see that location where it has the route. And we want to copy that link address, because what we want to actually do is to actually go ahead and see if we can test the app and see if it's okay. So in a new tab, we'll go ahead and paste and go to that route address, and the status is okay. So yay, looks like we have an API that will work. At this point, our application is now what they call a REST API endpoint, and there are a lot of ways to upload images to it. You could have used curl on Linux, or you could have used Bash or ZSH on Mac, or you could invoke a web request on Windows with PowerShell. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Jupyter notebook that I had, and I'm going to go ahead and invoke it from there. And what I've done is I've put the image that I want to use. I've gone ahead and placed the route. So I've already copied it over. Actually, let me just copy it over one more time. All right. And then in this part, I'm just going to go ahead and run this and see if it works. And it's given me VU69YDE and VU69YDE. Hooray, it works. So I hope that within this workshop, you've learned a couple things. It was a lot to go through. It was very quick. First of all, it's that RHODS is fairly easy to use. It has the managed service, which had Jupyter Hub, which you use to create these notebooks in this Jupyter Lab environment. You found that it's very interesting to create a model as you go. You can run various cells within Jupyter Notebook to see what you're doing. This is really what we wanted with the product, is to actually have the user be able to go and use this as kind of a test or development area when they build their models. We also saw that we could go into Red Hat OpenShift Dedicated, and that we could actually build an application image, or a deployment that we could use. And that once that we grabbed the route format, we had a successful way to go ahead and connect to our application, which we have built. All right. In my case, actual number M66YOB, but predicted. Yeah, some of the, as you can see with machine learning, sometimes the characters may be very, very close, like M's or N's. So the machine learning may pick one or the other, but as the model would be run over time, we would hope that it would be more accurate. At this point, you guys are done, and I'm hoping that you learned quite a bit. Any questions from the audience? You're so quiet. Somebody has to say something. Okay. What does it actually do when you build a Python program? Okay, are you talking about when you put the .py, the prediction.py together? Anthony.
I was just talking about how, like, I put in a GitHub URL and I just clicked build Python. So I'm wondering, like, does it just run all the Python scripts?
Right, so what it's going to do is actually gather everything together to create an image. But if Chris is here, he is our main engineer, I might get him to describe that process a bit better than I could.
So you're probably used to building Docker files from scratch, correct? Oh, if you've done this before. So, sorry, maybe not. This is more about Docker containers and creating applications from it. But Red Hat uses this process called source to image, which uses kind of a standard way of building containers from the code. So if you look at that code, there's a requirements.txt and a wsgi.py file. And so it's a real basic, it's a real basic Flask app, right? So the source to image process takes a GitHub image, takes that code, builds it, and deploys the application in a container. I don't know if you guys have been through a course or ODH workshop on containerization or S2I or anything like that? Have you guys? Docker?
Probably not.
Probably not?
So when we talk about a container, it's a packaged entity where you're going to have your operating system in there, the files, the libraries, so anything you use within Python. So in this case, we had prediction, but sorry, this is really bad, prediction.py, and then it would have any of the associated libraries that were in it. So in this case, we use TensorFlow. We use some other ones like pandas and whatnot. But what's happening is all of that is being pulled into one unit or container have you. So it's kind of like an autonomous little building block. And that's what we actually deploy. Does that kind of make sense? It's a very vast description, but the basis of kind of what we do with RHODS is being able to package up our applications into this thing called a container, and that's what we want to deploy. Now, the good thing about this, what I like to talk about, is that if you wanted to, you could deploy this elsewhere on other platforms. I mean, we have this autonomous unit. So again, like the Docker files, we have something that is kind of compact and built that we can deploy elsewhere, which is a really strong selling point for some of our customers.
But I like the link to source to image, but that's kind of building on those technologies on containerization, OpenShift, and Kubernetes. If you haven't taken a course on those things, containerization and Kubernetes, I think that's going to help you guys a lot at Red Hat, because a lot of our stuff will be deployed on OpenShift, obviously, using containers. Hema, do you know if they have anything scheduled for that kind of stuff, or do you have any resources for containerization in Kube?
Yes, I was actually just going to add to that, Chris. Thank you for mentioning that. So we do have a session tomorrow. In fact, it's a session on OpenShift, Kubernetes in general, and also, of course, they will be covering containers. And this is going to be by Dan Walsh, Sally, and Urvashi. So I'm sure all of you have invites ready for that. So you will definitely get more information about all the Kubernetes that Audrey and Chris are mentioning here tomorrow. So please stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, I think this will make a lot more sense, give you a lot more context for this deployment then, because you deployed something, but you probably don't know what exactly it created, but you'll learn tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, folks. Well, that's all that we wanted to cover, and I see that we're almost at our time commitment. Ima, did you want to add anything at this point in time?
Yes, I think we had one more question from Mary. She's asking, would a user typically have both developer and admin roles? I think she's referring to OpenShift.
Yeah, to this portion here. Now, all of our customers, our beta customers have both roles. A typical user, we would really only want them to have the developer role. Chris, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the roles are kind of, you can have both UIs. So the thing you see the drop down there is for really just to have a UI that's for two purposes. The developer one is really just for kind of geared towards like, hey, getting my code deployed, getting what I'm doing in my namespace. When you go to the administrator, there's going to be a lot more options. You can look across a lot of the other projects, even though you may not have access to other people's projects, you're still going to be able to administrate it and see all the different types of Kubernetes objects. Whereas the developer is kind of revolving around your workflow and your workspace and creating new applications. So you will probably use both. But yeah, but it's more really UI focused in this choice. It's just kind of a view. Your access is dependent on something else that I wouldn't worry about.
Yeah, and I will just mention that when I was working in the energy industry, we specifically had on OpenShift administrator only for a few of us, and then the developer roles only for those data scientists that were working on it, just so that they couldn't go in as an administrator and automatically start bumping up the limits for storage and whatnot, because we had to be very careful about the amount of storage that we had and other resources. But here, you guys, the sky's the limit. Go break everything.
Wait, no, I didn't agree to that.
I was waiting for you to say that. Okay. All right, guys. Well, again, we hope that you've learned a lot. If you have data science questions or questions regarding this workshop, please reach out to Sophie, myself, Chris. We're part of the data science enablement team. And what I will do is probably to HEMA, I will send the URL for the RHODS pilot platform. This may be up, this platform that you're using as users may be up for the next week. Then it will probably go down because we only use this as a workshop. The RHODS pilot platform, we're actually using this for our live testing on the RHODS platform, but we can set you up with a username and password, and you can play on that, and that actually helps us because any issues that you come across, we get to actually fix before our users run into them. So, but I think you're going to be pretty busy with your projects. But for those that like to stay up late at night, who have insomnia, please come to the platform and help test it out. Okay, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophie, and thank you, Audrey, as well as Chris, for joining in today. Appreciate all your work and presentation. And like they mentioned, I think the cluster is going to be up for another week. So please feel free to continue your work on top of that. And if not, I will also share with you the pilot platform link once Audrey has it with me. And I will also update all the resources and the slide deck, as well as the recording once we're done with the session today. And thank you all once again, and I will see you later this afternoon for our next session.
Have a great day, everybody.